is you don't need to feel truly appreciated when things are easy, but when things are hard, that's when they matter the most.
This video is proudly sponsored by Chapman University's Archibald College of Business and Economics, located in beautiful sunny Southern California. Are you thinking about pursuing a master's in accounting? Chapman's MSA program is tailored for ambitious professionals like you. With intimate class size and a collaborative atmosphere, you will receive personalized attention from world-class faculty who bring extensive industry expertise to the classroom. Enhance your accounting skills, fulfill CPA license requirements, and elevate your career with Chapman's flexible MSA program. Discover more and apply today at chapman.edu/MSA. First, you mentioned about burnout. Second, you mentioned about toxic. It's like so relatable. They are just like brother and sister because you are burned out because you are in the toxic environment. And because you are in toxic environment, so you are burned out. So talking about
they
that.
have to go hand in hand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so talking about that huge topic, not just from your own experience, but also in this accounting profession. People deal with this burnout so often. Every single firm, every single busy season, we always have the topic, how can we deal with burnout? How can we avoid burnout next season? And then the so-called just start over and over and over exactly the same way. So share with me your experience, that how you feel burnout and how did you escape yourself from the burnout circle?
Yeah, so I have been in positions over my career, over my many tax seasons, where I was working 85 hours a week or 95 hours a week, or in one case in particular, 110 billable hours a week, back to back to back to back to back.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, particularly when you have a family as well. It's incredibly hard, incredibly difficult, and it is a real thing that is an epidemic, an uncontrolled epidemic. It's already been diagnosed, but no one's working on a cure. So when I started my firm, I decided to only do the things that worked and both clients and employees liked and appreciated, and do none of the things that didn't work and that clients, neither clients nor employees enjoyed or liked. And that is what we are still doing to this day. 3 years and change later, that is how we operate. Over the years, I spent my time kind of being a pain in the ass to the partners and whatnot that I was working for. And that's only because, I wanted to know how everything works. I wanted to know, why this, why that sort of thing. Kept my eyes open always. After tax season, I would come to the partners with, a 3 or 4 page list of like, hey, here are all the things that I think that we should change. Here's how I think we should change them, yada, yada, yada. And on occasion, they would implement, said changes, not 3 or 4 pages of it, but out of like 36, maybe 10 or 12. It was cool. It was amazing. But that's more rare, I would say. But one of the questions that I asked, and it seems like one of the most basic, obvious questions that you can ask in this profession, that no one has an answer to, and that always bothered me. And that question is, why do we have a tax season? Why do we have a tax season? And if you were to ask anyone, it's not like, I have a good answer for you. The answer is, because we've always had a tax season. That's literally the answer. So when I started my own firm, I was like, there's a better way. We aren't doing a tax season like other places do tax season, where you're just burnt out like crazy and and everyone's just in hell and no one sees their families and whatnot. Absolutely not. No. So that's one of the reasons I structured my firm in such a way, and we don't take on every client. We do that intentionally. The clients that we don't take on are the smaller clients, the more basic clients. And that's how I developed our criteria for taking on tax clients. One, they've got to be someone that we can actually help, someone that we actually can provide value to. And the other one is that before we take them on, we have to have a high degree of confidence that the results that we would provide them would be materially different than if they went to, mom and pop CPA company on the corner, or, God forbid, a H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt sort of thing. And if they don't fit those criteria, so basically if they're a very basic return, call it. Most of the ones that we decline on taking are ones that are just really, really, really basic. And I set a minimum fee for several things, and obviously it goes up from there depending on complexity and everything else. But because of that, and because of our founding philosophy of always providing far more value than our fees, if I can't justify charging that minimum with the client, then it can't be a client. And so what that does is it stops us from turning into a normal firm. 99% of the firms out there that are what we call churn 'em and burn 'em firms, where they just take every client ever and they charge $200, $300 a return, and they have to do 1,500 returns in a year. And we're talking about a sole practitioner, 1,500 returns, and it's just like, okay, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So one, we don't just have a bazillion clients constantly that that we're just, we don't care about them. We don't have time to care about them, and we're just churning out returns as fast as we possibly can. That's just not what we do. And additionally, in order to prevent this sort of tax season thing, is in two ways. One, we extend blanket everyone, regardless, beginning of the year. Everyone, no matter what, we extend them. Period. That way, they don't have to feel the pressure of like, oh my God, well, am I extended? I don't know if I'm extended yet. I need to be extended, or we need to get this done, or you avoid all that panic. And two, I set a requirement for any client at all that wants to engage us for tax services, that has any sort of small business, mid-sized business, whatever it happens to be. They are required to engage us for at least once a year, end of year tax planning, projection, and strategy sessions. And what does that do? Well, at the end of that session, at a worst case scenario, say that there was no possible extra savings that we were able to find, or real strategies that we can implement, or let's just say hypothetically that's the case. It's never been the case, but let's just say it is. They know what the answer is at the end of the session. They know that, if I'm going to owe, I know exactly how much I'm going to owe. Matt told me it's this amount, this is the payment I need to make, and I can sleep easy at night and don't have to worry about damage control. Like, did we miss something? Is there something else that could have been different? Is there something we should have gotten ahead of, or anything like that? No, there's none of that. And so I told my clients, like, while, if you get us the information early during tax season, early in the year, first quarter of the next year, we'll certainly, get your return done, by, a reasonable date and whatnot, generally between 1 and 2 week turnaround. But there's no rush. There's no rush. If you're busy and whatnot and can't find the information that we need or whatever else, we'll take care of it over the summer. That's not a problem at all. And so you don't have these clients that are just like, oh my God, Matt, I don't know how much I'm going to owe. We need to get my information done in 3 days. And it's just like, you need to get my returns done in 3 days. No, there's really none of that. They already know what the answer is. There's no, that feeling, the butterflies of like not knowing. So when you take away the not knowing, people are more relaxed. When they're more relaxed, they take their time, get you things in a proper way, generally a more organized way, which is helpful as well. They don't apply a ton of pressure in order to like, oh my God, we got 3 days to turn this around. Like that happens very rarely. And your workflow is actually, more consistent, more even throughout the entire year, instead of just like, oh, 80% of our business is done during these 3 months. It's like, that doesn't make sense to do anyway, right? And so by structuring things in that way and making these things requirements and everything else, and additionally, you get the added benefit of the firm, as a firm owner, of, hey, well, in November and December, where normal firms are just dead and it's crickets, and all people are doing is just taking CPE, really, or like, all right, well, we have to modify our procedures or printing organizers or something like that to send out. We're actually very busy. We're doing tax planning, strategy sessions with all of our clients and whatnot. And we're making a pretty penny doing it and providing a lot of value to our clients. They really appreciate it and whatnot. But it's one of those things that is a win-win again, and again, it prevents burnout as well. It prevents the toxic atmosphere of short fuses and, people that are just exhausted. But you know what? Those times happen here as well. There are crunch times where, oh my gosh, something happened and, whoa, we have to get, these X returns done, by such and such date because of whatever issue. And it's like when I see my employees and they're working extra and they're really busting their butts and whatnot, at other firms, they don't really do this. But what I do is I, quite literally, is something I enjoy, throw money at them. Actually throw physical money at them. Not like, oh, make it rain or whatever like that. No, I roll up whatever money as a really nice bonus sort of a thing that is not like an expected thing that they don't know is coming. And it's like, oh, thanks very much for the good work. Here's some money. Here's a couple $1,000s. Here's whatever. And it's just like, they enjoy that so much. It's just like a real feeling of like real appreciation and acknowledgement of work. A lot of companies, either they don't do bonuses at all, that work for firms like that, or they do bonuses once a year, or they schedule their things after like performance reviews or something like that. And as an employee for a long time, obviously in my career, there was a better way. There just was a better way. And, you could say all the encouraging words, oh, wow, hey, listen, you're doing a fantastic job and all that. Can't wait till your performance review in 6 months from now. It's like, thanks. So I hope you remember how you're feeling right now, 6 months from now. Are you going to write this down? Did you record this speech of how, wow, Matt did a really great job? Like, no, maybe they take some notes. I don't know. But realistically, like, how is that encouraging, or how does that, make you feel better and give you a little bit more energy and job satisfaction when you need it? Because you don't need to feel truly appreciated when things are easy, but when things are hard, that's when they matter the most. And so it sounds like common sense when I say these things, but no one else does them. Why? Because they've always done them a certain way. And they've never thought, is there a better way? In recent history, just the past few years, they've reinvented certain things that people thought were already perfect, like the wheel. The wheel seems so basic. How the heck could you improve that? Well, they did. They changed the design of the wheel. People listening to this can go look it up. There's actually a couple designs for the wheel that they have come out with. They're using on skateboards and other things like that kind of look like S's, or what. It's really weird. It's really cool, and they've got these kind of triangular, geometric shapes and whatnot. That
I saw that. Yeah.
There's some cool stuff. And how about the axe? You think an axe is something that's been around since prehistoric times, right? Like, cavemen. But no, they reinvented it. And now there's a couple different types out there that, it's just not like, oh, I'm into axes and whatever else. It's just like, I just found it incredibly fascinating that by looking at really basic things and just asking the simple question, can this be done better? Oftentimes, you can find a way to do it better.
Yeah.
And it works out in win-win situations all the time. Like, you know, it just does. And so it's just another example of things that I remember, when they occurred to me over the years working for other people, going, let me just log this for when I have my own firm one day. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do that, whatever it happens to be. So I would give another piece of advice to all people that are starting out and going into their jobs and whatever at whatever firms over the years. Keep your eyes open. Really be paying attention to how things are working, what things are working, what things aren't working, what people like, what clients like, what employees like, and what's not working. You can reinvent the wheel. Our hours that we have, here at our firm are not like other firm hours. And they're designed to prevent burnouts. And, because of how we've structured our clientele in our firm, we're able to do this. So instead of working you've got to get 40 billable hours a weekend, during off season, whatever else, and then PTO, you can take PTO. And my favorite is always we've got half day Fridays. Oh, isn't that great during the summer? Half day Fridays? Oh my goodness, amazing. But you still have to get your 40 hours in. It's like, so what you're saying is that there's no difference there at all. Okay, thanks for saying, you have to get in 55 billable hours a week or 65 billable hours or whatever the heck it is, at whatever firm you're at during tax seasons and whatever else. And it's like, or we're not. So what we do is our working hours are 10 to 4, Monday through Thursday. And they can still take lunches. They can do whatever. Fridays are what we call standby days, where in essence, in the off seasons, well, slower seasons, we'll call it, they're basically off altogether. Unless there's and we call them standby days because if there's something that has to get done, do it. But part of it is you have to trust your employees too. You trust them with all this client information that they could use to, do terrible things. So if you're going to trust them with that, you have to trust them to kind of be adults and do their work, right? And so I tell them all, one, we don't track hours here. We don't have any reporting system even in place for them to log time at all. None. Never. Ever. That's one of the most shocking things that
it is.
when they hear them,
I'm so surprised.
What?
Yeah, what?
Okay, and the way I explain something in the same vein to clients, right? When I explain, we don't bill by hour. We don't, do that by the hour. I mean, there are some things that, when someone's like, oh, Matt, I want to buy an hour of your time for consulting, okay, that's a little bit different, but that's not, in general what we do. I'm really the only one who ever charges by the hour ever for anything. That's really only for hourly consulting. That's very generalized. Oh, how do I set up this business? But no, we don't track hours. And the reason why is because who cares? Who cares? If you go into a bakery, right, and you see on the counter there's a cookie that looks good, right? You're like, hey, how much is that cookie? They're like, oh, it's $2.50. It's not like, well, that cookie there is our 3-hour cookie. And over here, this one, we baked this one for 4 hours. This one over here, is pretty cheap. It's our half-hour cookie. No one cares. All I want is can I have the cookie? Am I going to like the cookie? That's all you care about. You don't care how long it took to bake. I don't need to know how long it took to bake the cookie. I just want the cookie. So the whole idea here is with your staff, it's all I care about is work moving? Is it moving at the right pace? Is work getting done? If the answer is yes, I don't care if you work 4 hours a week or 50 hours a week or 20. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
And why should it matter? At other firms, right? This was my experience and one of my observations is if you're really good and really efficient, and there have been some really nice stretches in my career where efficiency was the name of the game. I was fast at preparing returns and whatever else. Well, guess what you get as a reward for being very fast at preparing returns? You get
more work.
More returns. And so you might do 3 times as many things as someone else, and you still get the same pay. You don't get bonuses for it. And like, what's your motivation to busting your butt? How does it benefit you in any way to put more effort in than is literally at a base level just required to keep your job? What's your motivation? There is no motivation. Oh, let's reward you with more work. Great. Thanks. Next time I'm going to drag my feet and pad my time. Right? Like, that's what people really will take it for. And like, I explain that to clients. Like, I say we don't do anything hourly because it punishes efficiency and it creates situations where people might be prone to dragging their feet or padding their time. And I don't think any of that is ethical, moral, or good. And I've seen that, everywhere. And you want to do what's right, but not just client facing. You want to do it internally. And the thing is, when you have this kind of attitude where your employees are able to have lives even during tax season, and they're able to go home to their families and not zombies, like, that's one of the things that over the years, like, I understood, like, I was a zombie. I may have been present in my kids' lives for, a third of each year. But, was that really beneficial for them? No, I wasn't dad. I was this guy who, like, couldn't see straight. That was just, like, living there and don't bother him.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good for families. It's not good for any mental health. It burns people out. It makes people leave the public accounting profession and go into private and whatever else, or just, change completely, do whatever, retire earlier. It's just one of those things. It just doesn't make any sense to do. So we don't track our time. Like, we understand how much, like, we have project tracking, of course, project management software, client resource management software, and whatnot. Like, I see how much work is getting done and whatnot. Like, and I see how much work we have, and I don't care exactly how long someone, how many hours they worked this week. Like, and from a purely business stance, why would anyone care? Like, is work happening? Is it moving? Is it getting done? Are we going to make the deadlines for whatever they are for whatever projects? The answer is yes. Then maybe shut up and sit down. Maybe there's nothing to complain about. Maybe just relax and enjoy it while it lasts. And hopefully it lasts for a very long time. Like, that's just my whole philosophy on things. Like, look at the things that matter, focus on those, and everything else, who the hell cares?
Yeah. So
it doesn't work.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of great topics and a lot of layers that I have to cut it a little bit deeper. I noted down all the layers that you mentioned about. And let's go from the most recent layer that you mentioned about it. It is about the hours that you do not keep track of your staff hours. How do you identify the efficiency of one staff to another staff?
Well, efficiency is measured in different ways.
Okay, how do you measure the efficiency with your staff then?
Sure. So we measure the efficiency. Well, let me just step that back for a second. We notice problems, right, based on review notes and the amount of returns, call it, that are being sent to review. And when we see one employee struggling with them, okay, well, we understand that they've fallen out of the, call it, expectation range. When that happens, then we look at it and we have a talk and we say, okay, I see that you're kind of struggling on this or this or this. why don't you show me what you're doing here, and maybe we can see if we can find a better way, efficient way, or whatever else to do it. But the thing is, when you have it so that basically it's not like your reward is getting more work dumped on you, then employees will naturally try to find the most efficient ways themselves, because it's not like, well, we're locked in this cage for 40 hours a week. It's, well, if I'm like done and there's really nothing else to do, then I can just live and not even be here. I can go home. I can spend time with my kids. I can whatever. It's like, yeah. And they're like, oh, wow. Okay. Let me try to be efficient with this, because if I spend 60 hours on this stuff, but it could have taken me 20, that's only to my detriment. So it encourages them to be efficient and whatnot. It's in all of our best interests for them to do that naturally. But when you have you're going to be here regardless, you have to be here 40 hours, you have to book your time or whatnot, and then every little thing that, oh, you spend an extra hour on this return than you really should have. Why? And it's just like, well, in that kind of environment, like, when are you ever encouraged to innovate or figure out efficiency? You're never, because you know that even if you're doubly efficient, you're still going to be there. Even though things took half the amount of time that they could have, you're still going to then just do double the work. Well, why would you do it? It doesn't make sense. That's not like human nature. Let me just do more work to make you more money, to no advantage of my own, just because reasons. No, it's not in their best self-interest to do it. I'm not saying, oh, everyone's got to be selfish and all that and whatever else, but no, it's an employment contract. It's supposed to be a win-win by its very nature. You provide services to the company, and the company provides you money for your time or your efforts. That's what's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be win-win. Why not make it a win-win and have your staff be encouraged to innovate and become efficient just out of the gate? They're I know maybe the way that I look at things is a little odd, and certainly very different than other places, but well, it's working exceptionally well. I don't know how else to say it. So for all the businesses out there that track time and say, no, we have to track time because blah blah blah, you don't. And the only reason you think that is because you've always done it. Period. There is no good reason to. Period.
So do you normally just give this number of returns to this staff and this numbers of returns to another staff, and then once they're done, they're good to go? That's it. That's how you allocate the work. How do you assign the work?
Well, so it depends on the time of year. During tax season and whatnot, there are queues and things like that. And, certain people have certain technical skills that benefit them working on certain engagements versus other engagements or whatnot. But generally, we're able to keep up with the work. But, you're talking about really making sure that not everything is falling on one person, basically, is kind of the essence of it. Well, we look at the workloads. We look and see, okay, well, how many returns got to review from this person versus this person, or how basically what has this person basically been doing? Has work been moving? That whole point, has work been moving from this person? If the answer is yes, they fall within those kind of ranges, then hey, great. We don't need to say anything, have any sort of conversation about it or whatever. And it's I get it. And people get sick, and people, have to take care of real life stuff. I've got an employee that, as a sick parent, and whatnot, and that's taken a toll, on her being able to, call it work as many hours or work as many engagements as other staff that don't have those things going on. But in a lot of other places, and this is something that, oh boy, I hated over the years. The whole idea of PTO. Okay. PTO is complete and utter garbage. We have unlimited PTO, and we don't just say that we have unlimited PTO and use it because, statistics say that when you give unlimited PTO, people actually take less, so they'll work more. It's like, no. I literally tell people when I've noticed that they haven't gone on vacation or taken time off, like, go, take some. Like you should be out there recharging and relaxing or doing whatever you need to do. But PTO in general, right? When someone asks, for time off due to whatever reason, basically the question that I ask or that comes to mind for me is, if I were in their situation, would I rather be at work working or dealing with that? And so it's like, oh, well, Matt, I've got to leave early Tuesday because, I've got to take my mom to a doctor appointment. She's still dealing with her whatever. And it's like, I think about it and I go, wow, if I were in their shoes, I would rather not have to deal with that. I'd rather be working. So why would I ever hold that against them? They would rather be working. They would rather not have a sick mother who they have to take to an appointment. And so it's like, why would I hold that against them? Even if we had a defined PTO of, well, you get a certain amount of time, which is BS for a lot of other ways as well, I would never count that against it. And it's like, well, Matt, you open yourself up to abuses and all that. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, while we open ourselves up there, for 99% of cases, people are going to be happier, more appreciative, and actually do more work more when we need it without us even having to ask. They appreciate it so much that they take on extra things. They go the extra mile without even being asked to do so, because when they needed time to do things, we were accommodating, didn't hold it against them. And so, like, when you create that environment, that's the exact opposite of toxicity. And when you create that environment that just puts your faith in the people that you need to have faith in anyway, it's both empowering and mutually beneficial. Like,
that's really good. Wow. That's a really creative way to avoid burnout. And I have interviewed so many people on my podcast. You are the first person who have ever told me about this solution, about not keeping track time of employees, of staffs. It's just eye-opening.
Yeah, the CPA firm, you're right. In the beginning, you were mentioning how every year, there's all this big, how do we prevent our burnout? And these big companies putting these stupid whatever policies in place to combat burnout and whatever else. And it's like, there's a way to literally do it. I did it. And what's your excuse again? I know that you're just saying things, but I feel like you're just literally giving lip service and being like, it's a priority for us to avoid burnout. By the way, make sure you hit your 40. Make sure you hit your 55. And it's like, so that's bullshit. Cool. Yeah, like every firm out there, it's like the biggest deal. At the end of the year, you always get these newsletters, whatever, right? These journals and whatever else that are always saying like how to avoid employee burnout. Big topic this year at the AICPA convention, and or whatever it happens to be. Or this conference, they had a speaker about employee mental health and blah blah blah, and the state of the industry, and it's all burnout. And it's just like, yeah, it's like complaining that you're developing lung cancer, and then being like, oh man, it sucks, lung cancer is terrible, and then going out and having a cigarette. Like, it's just like the stupidest thing. Like, you can't complain about one thing and then literally do the opposite. But a lot of people, that's all that matters. That are, we're Big Four and we have this policy about mental health and employee work-life balance. Oh, okay. Work-life balance. Okay. I hate that expression. No employee likes that expression if they really think about what that is. So we don't have a work-life balance here. I specifically spell it out in anywhere that phrase would be mentioned. Life-work balance. That's what it should be. That's what it means. Because if you think about it, you know, we're only working to be able to live and provide. It's the only reason that we're working. If we all had $100 million in the bank, you think that we'd be at work? No, right? We'd be all completely focused on life, right? But because we're all working, life still comes first. And that doesn't mean, oh, we get to just ignore work and whatever else and just, oh, I'm going to go to concerts every day, or, I'm just going to, Matt, I don't feel like coming in today. I'm just going to play video games all day. Like, no, that doesn't happen, right? But the point is, when stuff happens in life, and it does, no matter what, if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will, and soon, for anyone listening, life happens. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know how it's going to spin you. You don't know what it's going to do. You don't know how much time you're going to need off, or things that you need to clear your head or get back in the game, or really just, your own mental health to make sure that you're okay. And so the emphasis can't be on work then life. Yeah, we have a business to run, but we are overstaffed now, right? We have 2 more employees than we theoretically need to be working at, like, call it, capacity. So if someone needs to be, oh, Matt, I've got the, I have to, whatever, my, people are coming over to fix the roof or something like that, so I may not be on, the entire day on Monday and whatnot. Yeah, that's fine. That's life. You got to do that. You got to do that. Like, that's fine. Oh, I got to, take my grandparents to a doctor's appointment. They're in Greenville, an hour and a half away. Okay, great. Go ahead, do it, man. That's fine. And there's no like, oh, and you have to make up the time, right? Because you probably don't want to be driving 3 hours and taking your parents to, a cancer appointment or a whatever appointment, or like, that's life. And if in that moment you would rather be doing work than life, no one should hold it against you. No one should keep track of it, because, good Lord, no one wants to be dealing with the crazy crap that everyone has to deal with in life. Why we all keep score is just insane to me.
That's interesting. Another eye-opening discussion, because we say work-life balance so often that we never pay attention. Work in front of life. We never consider that maybe we should say life-work balance, because we just get used to saying work-life balance so often, just like how we keep being in the burnt out cycle so often that we don't recognize there's another way. So that's so interesting that you brought this up.